Well, generally speaking, a typical Margaux would be a wine with a lot of elegance, precision and finesse. We like to say in French that a wine from Margaux is féminin, a lot of femininity in it, so elegance, precision. Where does it come from? It does come from the soil, from the terroir. There is a common point between all the different appellations of the Médoc region. This common point is the gravel soil brought by the river 1.5 million years ago. But then between those gravel soils there are differences, and the difference between the appellation come from those small differences. Generally speaking, the gravel soil from the Margaux appellation are a little bit lighter than the one further north in Pauillac or Saint-Estèphe. Lighter in the dirt that is around the rolling stones. It's a little bit more sandy here, and that's the reason why the wines are a little bit more elegant, a little bit more precise. When the dirt is a little bit bigger, a little bit more clay, the wines can be a little bit more structured, a little bit more powerful, and that's the case in Pauillac or Saint-Estèphe, for example. Our main challenge in 2011 was to be able to keep the style of Palmer, so the style of Margaux in general, elegance, and the style of Palmer, roundness, velvet character. Why was it a challenge? Mostly because we had an extremely high concentration of a phenolic matter, so tannins, in the skin of the fruit. Really enormous, and we had to find a way to extract those tannins, keeping a lot of delicacy, which again was the challenge. So we were obliged to change a little bit our winemaking, playing much more with maceration and temperatures instead of what we call remontage, pumping over, so bringing the juice at the bottom of the tank, pump it back at the top, and to wash the cap. This is a physical way to extract, and that was not very well adapted to 2011. So we played more gently to be able to extract the good amount of tannin and the good quality of tannin. And I think it's still early to judge, but so far so good, I would say. No, I think the best way to be introduced to the Bordeaux wines in general is just to be curious. You have to be curious and taste a lot of wine, and then try to be informed about those wines. Well, through the web now it's so easy to get all the information you want. And then it's exactly the same if you want to study literature or music. I mean, the only way to go into it is to listen a lot of music and then to try to understand what it's all about. With wine, it's the same thing: tasting, understanding, reading, be informed, try to understand why a Merlot is a little bit different from a Cabernet, why a Merlot from a gravel soil is different than a Merlot from a limestone-based soil. I mean, it takes time. It's a question of curiosity, of culture, of interest, and not a question of label. It's a question of time, and there's no rush. I mean, I remember when I was very young, started to taste wine. I was impressed by very simple wine. I was impressed by top label, of course. And now I'm impressed by wines with a strong personality, with people behind them. And maybe in 15 years old I'll be impressed by something else. I mean, you can taste wine for your entire life. You will always learn something. So let's be modest. That's the most important. Yeah, of course. I mean, and then for Château Palmer, there are a lot of different vintages. There are wines that are younger, older. So of course you can do a lot of different pairings. The most important thing for a pairing, I think, with our wines is to have a mutual respect between the food and the wine. You don't want a wine to overpower the food, and you don't want the opposite. Generally speaking, our wines work well with all the food that has a very nice texture, not too much fat, not too aggressive. But I mean, the cuisine is so diverse, and I think generally speaking, the fine cuisine is elegant, is not big and fat. So that's the most important. I just had a tasting of the 08s yesterday, both Alter Ego and Château Palmer, and this is the vintage I would present to explain what is all Palmer about. This is, to me, one of the best Palmer in the recent year, to understand what is the finesse, what is the elegance, what is the precision of a great wine from Palmer. And I mean, the tannins of the 08 are just incredibly elegant. There's also the velvet character that makes it so special. The finesse is really Margaux-like. The velvet character is what is specific to Château Palmer, and 08 is just the perfect example. Château Palmer to cellar and to keep a little bit. Alter Ego will be enjoyable very, very soon.